Israel, together with Robert and Felix. We were basically reflecting on the genesis of how COVID-19 actually got into Africa and thereafter into Uganda, how we have managed so far and how we have been able to survive as a nation. And one of the talking points out of that discussion is the fact that we have only survived on hope. Government has continued to give us hope that they are doing something about it, that they are doing whatever it is within the means that we have to be able to, one, manage, control, and also fight COVID-19 in Uganda. And we commend them for doing such a good job. On Good Morning Uganda agenda, my name is Priscilla Nalwoga, and we are continuing to have the same reflections on the economy, education, and the pandemic. These three seem to be in relation to each other every single day that passes by. We get to understand that at the end of the day, it all could be one big circle, and everything contributing to how that circle actually forms itself into the country of Uganda. Now, joining me is Ivan Tukundane. Good morning to you, Ivan.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good.
I must say you're extremely smart.
Thank you.
Combination of blue all the way. That is a very interesting choice of color.
Thank you.
So how are you? How have you been? Considering that, give me a genesis of how your life has been since 1st March 2020.
Yes. Of course, as any other student, I have been inconvenienced in one way or the other. But with a creative mind, I have tried to make sure that I position myself in a situation that I can also fight hard to overcome the COVID-19.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have mentioned that you're a student. Ivan is a student of Chambogo University, and he is pursuing a bachelor's of education majoring in English and literature. Now, as we all know, one of the sectors that was initially hit heavily by the decisions made by our president in the addresses was the education sector, and they were told to go back home. Just like that, things changed for them. Ivan, how did things change for you? How did you transition into the 3 months of total lockdown? Did you have mental issues?
Of course.
Did you have stigma? Did you have fear? How did you deal with all those things as a student?
To me, by the time COVID-19 came, actually I was just from an election at Chambogo University, but as any other Ugandan or as any other person in the world, of course we had that fear at first when we had just begun the lockdown. It was as if you get corona, you are dead.
Yeah.
But with time we came to adapt to the new normal. And you people of media, you did a very tremendous job. At least you did the sensitization. By the time I moved from Kampala to my village, Mitom, my mother, who did not even exceed P7, was also aware of coronavirus. So I think with time we came to adapt very quickly. That's why we receive education. If your education cannot make you to be flexible in any situation, then stop wasting time with studies.
You mentioned that you had just engaged yourself in elections.
Yes.
What were you standing for?
As a guild president.
Guild president.
Yes.
And the results came out, and you?
I didn't make it through primaries. Yes.
Now, it causes me to ask.
Yes.
We've had elections recently, now very on helm of the country, and there's losers and winners in every election.
True.
In, of course, leadership here, MPs and the likes and candidates, presidential candidates, they have chosen to go to court, you know, to just say that, no, it was not fair. No, I think they cheated me. That is a way how they've been able to manage the losses. How did you manage the loss for yourself?
To me, what I know, there is no perfect world. That is the first principle I base on. There is no perfect world. And by the time you go in this game of politics, you are capable, you should be in position to manage all the consequences and the privileges that will come along the election. So by the time I came in an election, I was aware that the losing was there and winning was there. Yes. All right.
Ivan Tukundane with me on Good Morning Uganda agenda. As we dissect education, we want to look at the role of education in a fast-growing economy such as Uganda. And when we look at the pandemic that has affected us in the past 1 year, it's not only affected Uganda, but the entire world, to the extent that economies have gone crumbling down. We've had the gross domestic product moving from the usual numbers down to 26.21%, all the way to negatives of 66.66%. Just here in Africa, actually, we're negatives of up to 4.14%, and this has definitely been one. And yet, we still have to break down what is education and what is a fast-growing economy. So I will turn to the man who's in school more because I bet he understands these things better than I would. What is education, Ivan?
It would be logical for us to discuss education or very unfair if we don't know the background of education in this country. For example, we must first understand how old is education and how old is Uganda. Education, many people will have different views and different definitions of education. Someone will define education as the way of impacting new skills.
True.
By mere fact that someone can pick me from here and he takes me there to teach me how to do chapati, I have been educated. But the problem, in 2018 when I was in senior 6, I happened to go to Kenya and I met one lady from Canada. She told me the problem of Africa, or the problem of many people, is one, they don't understand the terminology education. People think that going to the university or going to class, that is education. But is it true?
No.
It is not true. So education, if education is imparting new skills, what should we do as a country? We must, how old is Uganda? Uganda is about 58 years.
Actually, that is wrong. Uganda is older than 58 years. The 58 years you're considering is our independence from colonialism.
Uganda is a colonial construct. Before colonialists came, we are living in a world that you are a Kamparian, you are not a Ugandan. You are living in Mbarara, you are a Mbarara person, but you are not a Ugandan. So we must acknowledge that now Uganda and other countries which we are colonized, they are colonial construct. So,
but education dated way past the 58
for education, it is as old as mankind.
Exactly.
Even when we see in the book of Genesis, God, when Jesus was still on his mission, he was educating people. So we can say education is as old as mankind.
Good.
So, but we must now take away this mentality that education is going back to school.
It's going through the school system.
Yeah, it's also education, but the real education is from all angles. You run a new skill. You run a new skill from both informal and formal. You have received education.
So we have types of education. Then we can say we have the formal education, where actually people go into the school system that has been set up by the Ministry of Education and government that feels this is a good system for students to go through or children to go through and acquire knowledge and information that they should later use or interpret into using to be able to have a better life, to be able to actually interpret all other forms of engagements with life that they will have to deal with as they get growing. So we have formal education. Then we have the informal education. True. How would you define formal education?
Formal education, this is the education which was brought by colonialists and which we are pursuing now. Many of us personally, I am also a product of formal education. Yeah, I have gone to class, wrote notes, sat for exams, and progressed to another level. I'm a product of formal education.
Okay, all right. Then we have the informal education. What would be your definition of that?
The informal education, by the way, is a good education which the people of Rengago used to give to our grandparents or our current parents. Informal education is imparting new skills and practical, by the way. For informal education, you receive hands-on. Hands-on. They want to, like you are a lady. I think your mother could now be teaching you how to winnow millet.
True.
How to mingle.
Yes.
Yes, that is informal education. They call you, be here. They do when you are seeing, then you repeat it. Formal, that informal.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, the ideal education. I think personally, I would subscribe to for any economy. To be competing globally. Yes.
Okay. All right. So now that we have looked at all these forms of education, we want to see, with the education that we have in Uganda, how has it been able to enhance the fast growth of the economy?
Uganda, as a case study, and other developing countries, we have had that our education system has failed to completely impact our economy. However, we must appreciate the efforts that the government has put. For example, economies like China, economies of USA, economy of Singapore, economy of Japan, Germany, those people have had a very good education system in that it has empowered its learners or people undergoing that education with a creative mind and skills. For example, many of us, we are on Facebook, we are on the knowledge of Mark from America, who has sat down and designed...
Mark Zuckerberg,
yes,
the owner of Facebook.
Yes, WhatsApp, Instagram, Telegram, Google, Twitter, all
Who's
that.
a Harvard student, but a fallout, by the way. He did not complete Harvard.
You see?
Because he came up with an innovation, because he was allowed to create.
That's what I am telling you, that we need innovative and inventive minds. And like in Uganda, it was on, I think, because I don't have issues to do with hearing and sight, it was on Tuesday. It was Tuesday 6 October 2020, when President Tubahagura also commented about it. They were celebrating World Teachers Day, that let us teach what helps Ugandans and Africa moves forward. And actually, even he, if you are so sensitive, I remember him asking Professor Vanashas Bariamureba, who is a PhD holder of computer science, come and make for us a computer with sort of issues to do with computers in our country. But up to now, I doubt if he has ever delivered a result. So the problem is, one, you see other universities, Chambogo, Makerere, and other universities, you find a student doing software engineering, but even he doesn't know to use Facebook, which is already in place. And
they're doing the theoretical part of it.
For theory,
application of
if you call them here, they will give you the whole theory and you will be out. You can't match them. But tell them to design even a half application. That is the challenge we are having, that our students, we who are going through this education system, we are not creative. And the system, one, we cannot say that
But is it because we're not creative, or the system that we are subscribed to does not allow room for creativity?
Of course, both of us, I think we have to blame. One, I can't say that Uganda has run short of curriculum designers, no. But is the political will there? The political will of the government to implement those good curriculum. We have very wise people. Actually, Ugandans, we are very wise. We have very wise people who can design a very good curriculum. But now, the political will to implement that curriculum. So now we as students, what can we do? You see, the problem is, one, that we are conditioned to study and look for a job. And let me assure you.
And if you don't fall in that line, you're a failure.
Let me assure you. If you know that you are a university student, or you are a student under this system, I inclusive, and you don't, your father is not having a company, Simon, you are doing marketing, and you think someone is going to start his business, employ you that you come and market my business, that one is absolutely impossible. Because by the time you are going to begin your business, you know all the remedies of how we are going to get customers. TVs are here, you busy. So that means employing me now, I am limiting. I'm limiting the platforms of TVs and radios. So someone starts his business with good ideology. I'm going to reach customers this side. I'm going to do like, when he's having a full plan, and you are not in that plan. So any campuser or any student who is there thinking that is going to get employment after getting your degree. By the way, for me, in most cases, I feel saddened, but I have an option. I have an option. It is a matter of sitting down and you be creative. You impart yourself with soft skills, and you don't be there that you are going for a job. Like, for example, in Chambogo, in literature year 2, we are about 800 plus students. And remember, when we are graduating, all universities produce teachers. So create a scenario. How many jobs will government provide?
Because then I was going to ask you, just the degree that you are doing right now, education, means that you will have to be employed somewhere, somehow, into the system that we are talking about. So should you be employed into the system, you as an educationist, how then best, in your capacity, be able to do what you do that will in turn improve what we're looking at as a fast-growing economy?
One, what we must first understand is we must first understand economy. Economy is selling and buying of goods. That is economy. And any improved economy, it will be, for economy to be fast growing, that means there is money in pockets of people.
But there's not enough to buy.
There is not enough. So now, what am I saying? As a student, to get employed in this education system, this is where you are going to find scenarios that someone is employing you true, but is giving you 100,000 and you are completely overworking. So for me, my ideal call, I would suggest that really, I think the government, one, should put the political will. Secondly, we people who are in the curriculum, what have you done? By the way, let me tell you, recently when they had just shut down the Facebook, I had many people complaining. Doing business, we are doing business. If a student at campus is a campus, I am a campus because I'm a student there. If he's called a university student, I'm a university student. I know the chats. I know the chats of university students, but I will end it there. But now you ask yourself, we are on social media, which is okay. In any way, these statements I make, they does not mean that I don't support social media. No, I do. But if we are relying on the knowledge of an American, you are buying data every day, spending a lot of money
to make the American rich.
But we have engineers
and increase their economy.
If you can go to Chamboga and you see that we have engineers. You go to the Department of Engineering, you will really appreciate we have engineers. You go to the Department of
Information and Technology.
Information and Technology.
You have students there.
Yes.
But when it comes to them getting into the market, they cannot.
You find he's an engineer, but he cannot fix a bulb.
You actually speak of Facebook at that time of social media shutdown.
Yes.
For me, and I believe, again, I like to look at the positives in every challenge. And for me, I looked at that season and I thought to myself, this is an opportune time for Ugandan IT scholars to come up with social media platforms that are made by Ugandan so that we can use them, adapt them. I mean, of course, there might be an element of copy and paste, but when we use Ugandan social medias and those are pushed to actually be a part of our phones and our IT and our engagement technologically, you will see that it will enhance the economy because then I will buy my data, my OTT to use whatever the name of the social media platform would be.
Let us acknowledge that we live in Uganda and we stop pretending that we don't know the systems of Uganda. In any case, I don't say that Uganda is not an ideal country which can design those ones. But
which can allow design and development.
But the problem is one. If we look at these people, they have created Amazon, Alibaba, Apple. I want us to reach a stage that we can also design a platform whereby an American can also order matoke from Uganda online and it gets delivered the way we do. Here you see someone very proud that they have purchased a very good car from Japan. Even when they try making their things from Uganda, they want to brand them another country. Now they still have that feeling that if I brand it to Uganda, they will not buy.
Okay.
I saw this boo-boo, buy Uganda, build Uganda. But how many people now have done that one? I saw President Tuharuga putting on that shirt, but it was like a fashion show. How many people have done that? They want to brand themselves to Japan, Germany, USA, China, because those economies have improved. And they have improved, not their GDP is in trillions, but when you look at the GDP of developing countries, a case study our country, we must acknowledge that our GDP is in billions.
As a student of Chambogo University, studying education, and we're talking about the role of education in enhancing the fast-growing growth of an economy. What then would you say, how can education enhance the growth of the Ugandan economy currently?
First of all, we must acknowledge that education is an investment in human capital. A greatness of a country depends on it comes with the greatness of citizens. Uganda is not based on these buildings. No, we the citizens who are there. So if you invest in human capital, human capital will increase productivity.
True.
And once productivity has increased, that means the economic competitiveness will also increase and the output as well. I think you must acknowledge that where there is no competition, no quality. So now, if we make massive, if we improve our education system, that means we shall improve our human capital. We have resources like copper, like gold. Those ones can, those resources can be finished. But human capital is cross-generation, from one person to another. The only expiry date for human capital is when that particular person dies. You get my point? So I think I have a feeling that if we improve human capital, first of all, people who are educated, they know where to invest, when to invest, how to invest, and for why. Why should I invest? What should I invest? Where should I? They have all those tips. But now the problem is where you find a scenario that you have people who are completely offside the education system. They don't appreciate the education system, and it does not impart the necessary skills.
So then the question begs, how can we entice those that seem to deter themselves from the education system, speak ill of it, and not even want to relate with it? How can then we interest them in understanding that it's for the benefit, first of all, to them to actually engage in education in boosting economy?
First of all, to me, I would call for awakening a national conversation. This education shouldn't be political. We awaken a national conversation. All of us, we come on a round table, we sit. What can we do? We must create creativity within people who are going through the education system. A country with citizens who are not creative will be growing at a total speed.
Very
a country
slow.
With
1 step per day.
Yes. Per day, that is the biggest percentage. You'll find like a half a step. Because we must get citizens who are creative.
Yeah.
As you are here, anchoring news, you can be in a position to also think, what can you do? Like you find these machines now in journalism, all of them are made from Uganda. But for you to get a very good camera, you need to first go online and you order through Amazon from China.
And then you get an expert to come and also
operate it and teach you how to use it. So a country like Israel and Egypt, they get their water from River Nile. But Uganda, we are blessed that we even have flooders who kill people in Wududa, in Kasese. But I am so disgusted when I see us also importing food from countries which are desert. They don't have this bracing. So as Uganda, for us to improve our economy, we must be a food basket for the world. So that we know that in Africa now we are developed. And unless we do that, we are going to remain a developing country. So what am I saying? We awaken a national conversation amongst ourselves. You see, the problem we are going to have is one that everything is now political. That is the problem. That I cannot call you because you are in a certain group, I'm in a certain group, that we can come and discuss a matter of national importance. Because trust me, your child, if he's going through the same system and my child is going, we are all affected. Now the problem is that the few people who should also maybe spearhead this conversation, for them now they feel proud to go and take their children outside. Mine is studying from USA. So you see now it is
no wonder when it comes to decision making, they have no idea because they don't have direct connection with the system.
So to me, I call for a national conversation.
Okay.
We sit down and discuss education. People designing curriculum. Ugandans, I'm telling you, we have many wise professors, and they can design the ideal curriculum. So that one I credit, we don't have issues. Even we don't need to go outside to hire people to come and design for us curriculum. Our brains are sharp enough. But now we call for a political will to put it in implementation. Ivan
Tukundane, your brain is sharp enough, and with the past year, I believe you've come up with an initiative towards this discussion.
True.
Tell us more about that initiative.
I think it was in December when I thought of this idea and I wrote it down. With this COVID pandemic, we have had many challenges. We have experienced ugly scenarios in the past. One, where everyone knows girls have been impregnated. I think even you saw when these senior fours were beginning their examinations, some didn't sit because they were pregnant.
Some didn't sit, and the Ministry of Education has had to consider those who can sit, breastfeeding
those who
and pregnant.
We
have given them an extra time of 45 minutes in examination time.
And we appreciate the government for that. But if you can be very keen on the situations that have been happening in the country during the COVID pandemic. I'm a student. I'm not telling you from what I hear. I'm telling you from what I experience and what I see with my naked eyes. So we have had a lot of disparities within students. First of all, they have been complaining even before COVID, the education system is bad. They have been tired of education. So now they have got an excuse why they should even quit. And dear students, everyone, I must tell you, there is no perfect world. Whoever is migrating from current education system, thinking that he's going to find a perfect world, it does not exist. So now we must acknowledge and remain in this education system as we try to make sure that we improve it.
And so what is your initiative about?
My initiative is about, one, restoring hope in the education system and among the students. Secondly, awakening, actually the mission of that that project is awakening a national conversation about education. Everyone should come on board and we resurrect the hope of us students. I have taken some papers. Some schools have been lucky, much as others they took it for granted. Schools like Elite, Kororo High, Chitende Secondary, Mazis, that school in the constituency of Dr. Muyingo, minister. Some schools samples, those who have been reachable, I have given them a sample of that. Because for me, I have my ideas in writing. You know, but the problem I have found with Africans, particularly Ugandans, is one, reading. If you have something to hide, I give you, don't pay for it. Put it in black and white. Just put it in writing. They will not know. So I've distributed those papers, even some media houses, civil society organizations, some people whom I think they can influence the society. So that initiative is intending to call for a national conversation and as well career guidance to students, mindset change. You see, you cannot, I will again repeat it, we should not underestimate the power of a word.
All right. Well, you cannot underestimate the power of the word. Our time is fast spent. It's been a pleasure having you, Ivan Tukundane. I believe we will continue this discussion because we have to follow up on the progress of the initiative that you have started. But the power of the word, and the word in the Bible, as we're observing the Lent period, states that train a child in a way that they will go, that when they grow up, they will not depart from that way. That is the best line of the education. Educate your child, educate yourself, so that when you get into the field, into the unperfect world, you can be able to actually maneuver fairly and squarely. It is Good Morning Uganda agenda. It's been a pleasure being in your company. Upcoming is Rumen Mpima Chibirango with the world of sports.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Kwate simu. For the first